everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hope from Home, the show where we bring you conversations of hope from our home to yours. Today, Deacon Pedro speaks with Father Ian Duffy, who was sick with the coronavirus. Luisa Florentine learns about a new website that brings people from all over the world together to pray the Rosary. And artist Timothy Schmalz tells Jermaine Bagnall all about his latest sculpture, which is a response to the pandemic. And of course, they'll all tell us where they're finding hope from our home to yours.
Father Ian Duffy, is so good to have you with us today. Welcome.
Good to be here. Thank you very much.
So you've been sick the last couple of weeks. Tell us about that.
Well, shortly before the whole shutdown of the province started, I started not to feel overly well, and I guess it was would have been the Sunday maybe. Remember the Sunday when I think the Diocese of Toronto had already canceled masses, but the Diocese of Hamilton was limiting what we were doing.
Right.
That Sunday I really wasn't feeling great, and in the afternoon I got a call from public health saying that I had come into contact with someone who had tested positive for the coronavirus, and told me that I should go and get myself tested.
You were not feeling well. How did public health know that you had been in contact with someone?
I guess whoever they were talking about had told them the various people that he had been in contact with.
Okay. So then you went to get tested.
They didn't say who it was or how they knew or anything like that.
So you went to get tested?
Yep, and went to the facility here in Guelph. They were absolutely wonderful. I can't say enough about them. They were professional. They were kind. I was in and out of there in about 5 minutes. And the doctor who had done the test said that I should go home and self-isolate. And so for the next 14 days, I was in self-isolation here at the rectory. There was about a 3-day period where I got really, really sick. And the way I explained it to a friend of mine was it almost felt like having a nasty, nasty flu, pneumonia, and mono all at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And for a short part of that, I was sort of thinking, oh, maybe it's about time to go to the hospital. And actually, the nurse from public health, again, who was just tremendous, she called a couple of times through the time that I was in isolation just to check up on me. And she said, oh, do you think we should send an ambulance? And I said, well, not yet. And thank God it never got bad enough to be hospitalized.
You're a pastor. You're the pastor at the Basilica of Our Lady Immaculate in Guelph.
That's right.
Are you there by yourself, or do you have an associate?
We have an honorary assistant, and he is one of the priests who is a former Anglican priest, and so is married. So he was actually sort of in a self-imposed quarantine even before that, because his wife's immune system is quite compromised.
Okay.
He just felt that there was no way he could be out. So it was pretty much me. Yep.
So you were completely by yourself, no one to take care of you. You couldn't go out. I guess you relied a lot on friends, parishioners.
Yeah, I have a couple of very good friends right in the area, and so they were just tremendous in dropping off food, calling just to check up and see that I was doing okay. Really, really good people. And then there wasn't a day went by that I didn't have an email or a text message or something like that from one of my parishioners, just asking how I was doing and asking if I needed anything. So they were wonderful. Right.
Did you ever feel, because I mean, this is what you hear in the news, but I don't know how different the symptoms, vary depending on who has them, but that you couldn't breathe, that
No. Again, thank God I never got quite that bad. There was a fair time that the cough was really, really bad. And so, I may have trouble breathing if I was coughing a lot, but no, I never, my symptoms never got to the can't breathe thing.
And I guess you would have had to then notify public health as to who the people that you had been in contact with.
Yep.
Wow. Have you transitioned, I imagine, like most pastors, to doing liturgies online?
Yeah, we have. And
So,
it was a real learning curve for me, Deacon Pedro, because you are probably talking to one of the most technologically illiterate people on the face of the earth. Thank God I've had two just tremendous people in the parish. My music director, for one, and a young lady from our choir in CWL who just offered their services. So we've been able to get our Sunday masses up onto YouTube and Facebook, and then usually do a little message a couple times a week that's posted on Facebook. Anything special comes up, and then another lady who is in charge of our parish website has also been tremendous in just getting anything out. I'll email her a message and she'll get it posted onto our parish website.
I was going to ask you about the messages, because did you feel once you knew you were sick that you had to let your parishioners know and you had to do it online?
Yeah, it was the only way to do it. Yep. Yep.
What kind of response did you get?
Again, just people saying, "Oh, we're praying for you. Hope you're well soon. Do you need anything?"
Right.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
As you can well imagine, with a lot of Italian women in the parish, an awful lot of offers for food. So
Yes, that's never a bad thing.
no, exactly.
So I guess, what would be your advice? A lot of people are watching, a lot of people are, not sure what they're hearing in the news, what to believe, what not to believe. You've been sick with the virus. What is your advice for people who question maybe the idea of self-isolation or social distancing?
I personally agree with what we've been advised completely.
Yeah.
I know it's actually, I found it very disturbing sometimes when I'd be reading some of the posts on Facebook or different places that, sort of trying to accuse the government of some socialist lockdown of the country,
Right.
that they're all about denying our human rights. And even more distressing, I find, Deacon Pedro, is when I read the various Catholic things where you have people accusing our bishops of just heinous crimes against the church,
Right.
For locking down our churches.
Yeah.
I think both the government and the bishops in this case are really just doing what's necessary to try to save lives.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a post the other day that I just shook my head at, because it said, loss of rights and lock down the country for only 2,000 and some deaths or whatever it was.
Right.
I thought, what part of this don't you get? It's because we have, given up some of our rights. It's because we've, most Canadians have embraced the idea of, we have to stay at home, we have to keep distance, that we only have 2,000 deaths.
Exactly.
That's certainly the way I look at it.
Exactly. Well, I know it's difficult for a lot of us. I can't say it's been as difficult for me as it has been for you, but I'm glad that you're all better now, and that the ministry continues, that you've learned some new skills.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that, looking back on it, where God's been really good, is that even when I was the sickest, I was still able to say Mass on that day.
Yes.
So I just set up a little altar right here in the rectory. I may have fudged a rubric or two, because the one day I did celebrate most of the Mass sitting down.
Right.
I just didn't have the strength to stand.
Yes.
But for me, that was very important, because that was my way of still being my people's pastor, even if I couldn't be with them.
Yes, that's good to know. And I know, just as you are, all the pastors, priests around the world are doing the same. So thank you for sharing your story with us today. I'm glad, like I said, that you're better, and it's good to see you.
Thank you very much. Good to see you too. God bless you all.
It's so great to have you here with us today, Mike. You are the co-founder of the Map of Hope. And for those who haven't dropped by the website yet, it's basically a lovely visual display of people working together to pray together during this pandemic. So could you briefly talk about the inspiration behind Map of Hope?
Yeah, the idea for Map of Hope came from us, myself and two friends, looking at these maps on the internet that show the spread of the coronavirus. And these maps are covered in red dots and red circles, and they inspire fear and anxiety. And we thought to ourselves, what if we could build something that gives people hope? And immediately we thought about the Rosary. And so the Map of Hope is really simple. You go to themapofhope.com, you type in your name, your zip code, and your prayer intention, and you show up on a map. And your blue dot, gives a sense of hope and community to other people praying the Rosary. And below the map, there's a feed where you actually see other people's prayers, and you can pray for those people. And the prayers that people are posting are really touching. They're about, I lost my job, I'm praying for employment, or, my son is no longer going to church, I'm praying for him to come back to the faith. And so there are a lot of beautiful, amazing prayers, and it's only been online for a week. We've had over 5,000 prayers from 130 countries.
That's amazing. It's crazy that it's only been a week, and how fast hope is spreading, really. It's great that you guys are, this website is really working hard to spread hope faster than the virus. And I think it's also nice that we get to see people's prayers, because then it kind of maintains a sense of closeness in a way, even though we're all in our own homes during this time of self-isolation. So I love all the features of the website. What blessings have come since you guys have launched Map of Hope?
Well, it's been amazing. We have people not only praying on the site, and you see their first name, their location, and their prayer intentions on the Map of Hope, but we're getting an outpouring of emails of people all around the world that want to share their prayers and offer to help. We had one gentleman from Mexico who offered to translate our site into Spanish so that Spanish speakers can use it. And so that gentleman, Pablo, has already done that. We've had amazing amount of people who are hosting or attending live rosaries that we can post on our website. So at the very top of the mapofhope.com, you'll see a link to a list of live rosaries. So if you want to pray with other people online around the world, we have that list, and it's growing every single day because so many people have been sharing their live rosaries with us. And a lot of other partnerships. I just got off of a phone call with other people that have a mission to get people praying the rosary around the world. And so we're now partnering with other people. And, we really just want people to get a deeper devotion to the rosary, and for the power of this prayer to be shared with people when they need it the most.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's clearly, the Holy Spirit is really working through all this to get people involved. And even outside of the Catholic faith, I see that people are really interested in this initiative as well. So that's so encouraging to a lot of us. So how do you think the meditative practice of praying the rosary, how do you think that can really guide us during this time of quarantine?
Well, at this time when a lot of people are feeling anxious, it's so important to just take the time to slow down and be with God. One thing we love about the rosary is that it is a meditative prayer. It's something that really requires you to spend 15 minutes sitting and meditating on Jesus's life and the life of his mother. And one thing that's really great about those mysteries is that you experience the suffering and the joy. And that's something that everyone's going through right now. There is suffering in the world. There's also joy. And so seeing how our Lord went through that and dealt with the suffering, and how his mother accompanied him through the suffering, but also into joy, I think is an important inspiration that all of us could gain.
That's a great point too, that, like in spreading hope, we're not necessarily downplaying suffering or sadness, but we're kind of allowing ourselves to experience all the different emotions and anxieties, and also wishes that we're all having during this time. So yeah, it's great that everyone's really working together for that. So what advice, what about for people who maybe aren't used to being still, or sitting down with their thoughts, let alone pray the rosary? What advice can you give for those of us who want to try it but don't know how to delve into that?
Yeah, that's a great question. On the mapofhope.com, we actually have a video for anyone who's never prayed the rosary before. It's a short 2-minute tutorial video. So even if you've never prayed the rosary, we have information to tell you why it's so powerful. We list miracles attributed to the rosary, and we can even teach you how to pray the rosary. So this is really for anyone that wants to learn. And for those who have a hard time, being still, it really just takes practice. And one of the great things about the rosary is, you have the beads themselves. And so it's not just you sitting by yourself in a room, but the beads help you to kind of move forward and to progress and to guide you on this journey. And there's something really wonderful about it. Not only is it a meditative prayer and a verbal prayer, you're saying the Hail Marys and the Our Fathers, it's a physical prayer. You're feeling the beads and you're on this journey. And so my recommendation is to just go ahead and commit yourself to praying the rosary for a certain duration of time. Maybe it's 10 days straight or for 1 month. And it may be a little challenging at first, but definitely over time, you start getting into a really beautiful rhythm, and it starts getting easier and really sweet and powerful.
Yeah, I love what you said about it being a physical experience as well. And in many ways, the rosary is kind of like a spiritual pilgrimage that we all kind of embark on with Our Lady and her son. So yeah, that's what I love about the rosary. I actually tackled a 54-day rosary novena recently, and I can see the fruits flow from that. So whoever is tuning in, watching this, if you haven't prayed the rosary yet, definitely give it a try, because our mother is ready to really shower her son's love to you and take you under her mantle. So yeah, thank you so much for this chat. One big takeaway from the Map of Hope really is that God is bigger than this one instance in history. And like, if you zoom out of and see the world map, you're really kind of given perspective of how little you are, but also how great the Lord is. And I just love that experience of seeing everyone praying together. So yeah, thank you so much, Mike, and God bless.
Thank you. God bless you.
Hi there, Tim. Welcome to Hope from Home. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to take a break from sculpting to talk to you.
Yes, you're always really busy and your work is always amazing. I'm really curious to know, since you're so well known for your massive works, can you speak on your current work about the Divine Comedy and what inspired you to create this, and what is your hope for it, like your goal for its impact?
Well, this is a project that I have been thinking about doing for literally years. Around 2 years ago, my homeless Jesus was installed right in the center of Florence. And when I was walking around Florence, I just felt there was kind of a lack or a need for more Dante in this beautiful city. And what I really observed in Florence, and I see it in many different places whenever Dante is mentioned, there's an emphasis on the inferno. There's an emphasis on the hell part of it. And being a Christian, that really kind of pissed me off, because you really need to understand the Divine Comedy. It is a comedy, and it begins in the hell, but it brings you through purgatory and into paradise. And a lot of the emphasis is on the inferno, on the hell. And what I think is that if I can give visual representation in an amazing way to purgatory as well as a paradise, it will bring that visual attention and awareness to everyone who gets involved with Dante. And it's interesting, because what I heard also, a horrible fact, is that when people read the Divine Comedy, 90% of them stop after they're out of hell. And I'm thinking, oh my God, with my artwork, I don't think they're just going to stop as soon as they see the last sculpture of hell. It will move on. And so in a sense, I think that the artwork, the sculpture becomes a gateway or a doorway into one of the greatest Christian works of literature that we have. And I do really emphasize the fact within my work that this is a Christian work that includes so many absolutely amazing stories that oftentimes are kind of if they're acknowledged at all art in the artwork, it's very quickly. So I'm really emphasizing the paradise and the purgatory, and it gives me an amazing chance to kind of showcase and highlight the Divine Comedy.
Tim, can you speak to the importance of art during a crisis and how engaging with art can help people deal with COVID-19 and the quarantine and the stress that we're under right now?
I really do think that it's interesting. My world right now, creating artwork, and as I'm working on the Divine Comedy, I'm thinking of the fact that Dante wrote the Divine Comedy when he was in exile from Florence. And as I'm working on this, I find it very interesting that here Italy is in a sense under exile, and the world is. And I oftentimes think that perhaps Dante wouldn't have wrote the Divine Comedy if he was busy in Florence. I know he would have been busy in the politics of Florence and everything like that. And I thought, oh my goodness, isn't that absolutely fascinating to think that one of the greatest treasures in Western culture could have been robbed for us if with this one person, Dante, if he wouldn't have had to uphold himself out of his normal world. And I oftentimes think that one of the benefits of not only creating art, but understanding and enjoying artwork has to come from a time of silence. And I find that with my own creativity too. I think all artists in a sense have to put themselves in a perpetual state of exile, and they have to be kind of hermits in a sense to really have that silence to listen to the creative spirit and to have that time to think. So I hope that this can be a time where great creation and great beauty can come around and really be appreciated from people. Like, we're living in such a very busy time consistently that hopefully people will consider this a moment, a time of reflection and peace. And so I think if one takes that approach, whether you're creating artwork or living your life, it can be a very, very positive time.
Yeah, that's an interesting notion. I didn't know that for the Divine Comedy, it was written during a period where he was essentially under a lockdown. That's a very fascinating parallel. Hopefully, yeah, people heed your advice and really use this. Would you call this kind of like, I guess, forced discernment for that sort of venture?
I think I think that to take a space like this and bring it to the positive is amazing. Like right now, I oftentimes think I am producing so much artwork right now, and I have zero distractions. I hardly even travel at all right now, and it really is, I think, a great space to create artwork. And I think also that it's an opportunity also to develop your own discipline and develop your own personal rituals. And I'm used to doing that. I'm being a sculptor, I'm in solitude most of the time. And what I find is that to build your own structure really kind of creates a positive space to go in. For instance, for years I've been listening to the Bible on unabridged tapes as I work, and that becomes part of my ritual. And so it's interesting because it can really, develop a space, an architecture that some amazing spiritual possibilities can come out of. But I think what you have to do is you have to set the stage, so to speak. You have to get the conditions correct for wonderful things to come out. And that basically is sometimes a lot of work. Like a lot of times I don't necessarily feel like listening to the Old Testament at 4 o'clock in the morning, but I do. And what happens when you're in that groove, when that becomes your staple in a sense, wonderful things can come out of it. So it's almost like in a state of solitude, you have to get the ground in a soil, water the ground, and then you're not 100% sure what's going to come up, if anything comes up, but it just might. But I can assure you that if you don't open that space, if you don't provide that structure, that personal ritual, it's very, very likely that nothing is going to flourish. And so that's what I believe. As a Christian sculptor, I can do, I can put as much muscle behind it, I can get the conditions, and then I can wait and see what happens. And oftentimes something surprising comes out. God is filled with surprises, and it's at this stage right now when people are forced to social isolate that some great, wonderful things can happen.
Amazing and fantastic advice, and I think you really are going to spark some great works. Who knows? Maybe as a result of this, that we'll see the next Divine Comedy come out. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
And that's all for today. Art is always a great way to respond to a crisis. What a nice and beautiful gesture of solidarity that Timothy Schmalz is making. Also, what did you think about the Map of Hope? Have you been praying the Rosary this month? And I was thinking about Father Duffy. Can you imagine being sick with the virus and being all alone at home? Good thing Father Duffy has a lot of good friends and devoted parishioners. Also, do you know anyone with the virus? Share your stories with us by following Salt and Light Media on all of our social media platforms and commenting with the hashtag #HopeFromHome. If you missed any part of the episode and you'd like to watch it again, visit our website saltandlighttv.org/hopefromhome. We hope that these stories inspire you to stay positive and remind you that we're all still connected through hope.